This is the one VR headset that showed me my own house map. When I first got my VR headset, I was playing around with it in my apartment and I noticed something strange. When I opened up the map in VR, it showed me my apartment. But when I moved the headset to different parts of the room, it didn't match up. The couch should be over there, but it's not. And then I realized that the map that it's showing me is not the map of my apartment. It's the map of the entire house. I have a 2-story house. This is the second floor. And when I go to the second floor in VR and I look down, this is what I see. I can see the first floor. I can see the layout of the entire house just by looking down. And it gets even crazier. When I go into the basement, this is what I see. I can see the entire house. The first floor, the second floor, the third floor. I can see everything. This is probably one of the coolest things that has ever happened to me in VR. This is the story of the VR headset that showed me my own house map. It was a cold winter night and I was sitting in my room just like now. But back then, I had a VR headset. And so I put on the headset. I entered into a game. It was supposed to be a role-playing game where you were on a quest to find some magical artifact. So I was walking around this forest. Suddenly I heard some rustling in the bushes, and I turned around and I saw a bear charging at me. I screamed and I took the headset off. Then I decided to play a different game, a horror game where you're in a haunted house and you have to try and survive the night. I put the headset back on and I entered the game. This time I was walking around an old dark house when suddenly the lights turned on and I saw the most terrifying thing, my own face staring back at me. I took the headset off again and I thought maybe it's just a bug in the game. Let me try one more time. I put the headset on and this time I was in a dark room with no furniture, no walls, no doors or windows. There was nothing there except for a single white light in the center of the room. I walked towards the light and as I got closer, it started to get brighter and brighter until I couldn't see anything else. Then suddenly the lights turned off and I heard a voice in my ear saying, "Welcome to your worst nightmare." I screamed and ripped the headset off my face. Then I looked around my room and I noticed something strange. My room was pitch black. I couldn't see anything, so I stumbled towards my bed and I turned on the light. And when I did, I saw that my entire room was covered in darkness. The curtains were drawn, the blinds were shut. Everything was completely black. And then I remembered that I had left the window open earlier that day. I ran to the window and I opened it wider and I let the sunlight stream in. Then I noticed something even stranger. On the floor, right in the middle of my room, was a huge pile of leaves. I had never seen that before. I don't know where they came from. I don't know how they got in my room. I mean, I live in an apartment. We have glass windows. There's no way that leaves could have gotten in my room, unless I had brought them in myself. And I knew that I hadn't brought them in. I remember checking the weather earlier that day, and it had been sunny, not a single cloud in the sky. How could there have been leaves? I looked outside and sure enough, there was a giant tree right outside my window. I stared at it for a long time, trying to figure out where I had seen it before. Then suddenly it hit me. I had seen that tree in the VR game that I had played earlier. It was the same exact tree. I had been standing under it when I had first entered the game. At this point, I was really scared. What was going on? Why was my room filled with leaves? And why was there a tree outside my window? I didn't want to find out the answers. I wanted to run away. I wanted to escape from my room, but I couldn't. I was paralyzed with fear. Then I remembered what the voice had said. "Welcome to your worst nightmare." Was this my worst nightmare? I couldn't think of anything worse than being trapped in my room with no way out. I felt tears streaming down my face, but I quickly wiped them away. I refused to cry. I refused to be scared. I was determined to get out of my room no matter what. So I started to walk towards the door. But as I did, I noticed something strange. The doorknob wasn't brass like it usually was. It was a rusty, old iron. As I reached out to touch it, a cold shiver ran down my spine. It felt like ice water had been poured over me. I hesitated for a moment, but then I forced myself to open the door. I pushed it open, and I stepped out into the hallway. But this wasn't my hallway. It was dark and creepy, and there were cobwebs everywhere. And then I heard a voice behind me. "Where are you going?" I turned around and I saw the most terrifying thing. Standing in my doorway was a tall, thin man with sharp claws and a blood-stained meat cleaver. He was staring at me with a malicious grin on his face. "Don't you want to play a game?" he asked, his voice raspy and low. "A game?" I whispered, my voice shaking. I wanted to scream, but I couldn't. I was frozen with fear. The man stepped out of the doorway and began to approach me, his eyes gleaming in the darkness. I stumbled backwards, my heart pounding in my chest. "Please," I begged, my voice cracking, "don't hurt me." The man stopped and smiled, his teeth long and sharp like the fangs of a vampire. "I won't hurt you," he said softly. "We'll play a game, and if you win, I'll let you go." I hesitated for a moment, torn between my fear and my desire to escape, but then I nodded slowly. "What do I have to do?" I ordered the best-selling VR headset online. This is a budget VR headset that doesn't need a PC or a phone to work. All you need to do is just connect it to your TV, and you are good to go. It even has this cool 3D mapping feature where you can just walk into any room and see its 3D map. So I thought of showing you guys the 3D map of our studio. As soon as I put the headset on and entered the mapping mode, something strange happened. The map started updating in real time. I could see all the walls and the furniture and the things in the room. But then as I kept walking, things started getting weird. There was this one particular spot where the walls seemed to be missing. I could just see the roof and the ground. And when I looked up, I could see the sky outside. There was a big hole in the wall. Now I thought maybe it's just a glitch in the headset. Maybe if I just walk out and then re-enter, then it will fix itself. So I did that. But as soon as I entered the room again, the map reset itself. It started showing the blank walls again. So then I thought maybe we should try from another room. So we went into the bedroom. As I entered the bedroom and started walking, the walls started appearing in front of me. Then we went into the kitchen. Then we went into the living room. And finally, when we reached the main hall, we saw that the map was fully loaded. We could see everything. We even went upstairs. We even went to the terrace. We even went to the back of the house. And all of it was just crazy, because it was showing us the actual map of our own house. And now I thought this is really cool. Let me take it to the next level. So I walked up to this corner over here, which is basically a staircase that goes underground. And as I entered this room, it showed me that there's a basement under our house. Now usually we keep the door of the basement closed because there's a bike and some other stuff over there. But today we opened the door, and as I entered the basement, I was shocked. It showed me this huge cavernous space under our house. I could see the bike, I could see the tools, I could see everything. I could even make out the different boxes and the different shelves that we have in the basement. At this point, I was really scared, because I know that there is no basement under our house. I mean, this is a small town. Who has basements in this part of the country? As I kept walking further, the path got darker, and the whole place looked creepy. It felt like I was in some abandoned underground facility in some post-apocalyptic movie. Then we thought, let's go back and check the top floor again. So we went back up, and then we entered the room that I had mapped earlier, and it was just blank. All the walls were missing. There was no furniture. It was just an empty room. Then we tried the bedroom. It was empty. The kitchen was empty. The living room was empty. It was just a black void everywhere. So at this point, I was sure that something strange was going on. And then I thought, why don't we try a different room? So we went into this room, which has a big hall and a washroom inside. So I entered the hall, and it was completely dark. There was no light at all. And then I entered the washroom, and it was also dark. But then as I turned the corner, I saw something. There was this one spot where there was a faint glow. It was very dim, but I could see a figure standing in the bathroom. It was a man who was tall and thin, and he was wearing a white shirt. I was shocked. I didn't know what to do. I was just staring at him. And then he turned around and he started walking towards me. I was so scared that I took off the headset and ran out of the room. I don't know what that was. I don't know if that's some bug or a glitch in the headset, but ever since that day, I haven't touched that headset. And I'm really scared to show this video to anyone. This is the VR headset that showed me my own house map. This was the very first thing I saw when I opened up the app. It was my entire house. How did it do this? Well, it uses a combination of 3D scanning and some really clever AI to create a 3D model of your house. First, you need to take a bunch of pictures of your house from different angles. Then you'll use an app to turn those photos into a 3D model. The app will ask you to identify the walls, floors, and ceilings of your house. Then it will use AI to fill in the rest. Once you have your 3D model, you can put it on your VR headset and walk around your house in VR. You can see every room, every wall, every piece of furniture. And if you want to, you can even change the color of the walls or the furniture to see how it would look in real life. But here's the best part. You can use this to plan out where to buy new furniture or where to hang a picture frame. For example, let's say you want to buy a new couch. You can go into the store's website, find a couch that you like, then grab the dimensions of the couch and put it into the VR headset. Now you can walk around your house and see exactly where that couch would go. Or let's say you want to hang a picture frame. You can grab the dimensions of the frame and the distance between the studs in your wall and see exactly where you need to place the frame. I think this is so cool. Being able to visualize where new furniture would look in your apartment, or where you should hang a picture frame, is incredibly useful. And the fact that this is all done through a VR headset is just the icing on the cake. And if you don't have a VR headset, you can still use this app on your phone. The 3D model won't be as accurate, but you'll still be able to see where furniture would look in your apartment. Now you're probably wondering how accurate this is. And to be honest, it's not perfect. The 3D model of my apartment is not 100% accurate, but it's close enough that I can use it to visualize where furniture would look. So if you're in the market for some new furniture, or if you're just curious what your house would look like in 3D, I highly recommend checking out this app. You'll be able to get a really good idea of what furniture would look like in your apartment, without having to spend the money on the furniture to find out. Alright, now it's time for you to share your 3D house with us. So grab your phone or your VR headset and scan your house. If this story chilled you, just wait for the next one.